Peace and love. Peace and love. So, I am determined that this is going to be a short stream. I have this marvelous idea that I am going to be able to see my screen as if someone comes in, I'll see it because I'm going to look at this on another device. So, let's see. Patience, right? Okay, here we go. Mm-mm-mm. I'm having a hard time getting there. Okay, so I should be live, so I don't understand why I don't see it on this. But so what I'm going to be doing is I got sidetracked. Uh, right, that's what I'm looking for. Okay, great. There we go. I was sidetracked. So if so, it so now I'm viewing this from another device. Maybe I should pick another layout. How? Like this? Oh, that's not big enough. But if I do the total screen, I still won't be able to see if someone came in. So I made that suggestion that if there's a way to see if people come into your chat, if you have if you're sharing your full screen, like maybe even a bell or something. All right. Sorry. So let's see. So I'm going to go. Oh, that's not bad. That's not, but that's still not me sharing my whole screen. Okay. So I was sidetracked last night when I was reading about Winnepekin and I got caught up. See here, I got caught up uh, into the introduction of Black Will, and I was trying to find out who is Passaconaway. And I read the first paragraph, and then I just lost it, went a whole nother direction. So I'm going to go back, and I am going to. What's the name again? To of what? Passaconaway. Yeah. So now this is spelled. I'm going to show you. Just spell it. See, Passaconaway. No, but that doesn't in any way suggest to you that the name is related to a preacher. Well, it's supposed to mean child of the bear, and this is probably the way that they phonetically were more comfortably saying it because it was actually Passaconaway. Passaconaway. See? See? Passaconaway meant child of the bear. So listen to the story. I'm going to read it. So Squaw Satcham and Passaconaway. I'm going to read the paragraph again that I read last night. We know, first of all, I'm going to just say Squaw Satcham is the mother of Winnepekin, who I've been speaking about for the last couple of uploads that I have. But it didn't say his father was Passaconaway. It said his father's name was actually Nanus. I forget. But I think I did see it down here as I was just kind of looking for it. Here, Nana Pashamet. Nana Pashamet. So his name is going to come up. Okay. So when Nepomucen Dening, which was the youngest son of Squaw Sachem and this Nana, I just said it, a man other than this name. So I've noticed that there are so many names that one person can have. For example, when Nepomucen was also known because he had this disease that disfigured him, and part of his nose was gone. So they call him George No Nose, or No Nose George. He was also known as George. I'm just so forgetful right now. George Sagamore. Sagamore being the place that they were in. And these were people who were making some of the first deals, land trading deals with some of the immigrants. You have any issue with me saying immigrants? The Europeans that came in colonized? Because that's not a bad word, right? Right. That's what they're immigrants. So these are the first Americans some of the first Americans. And Black Will was something that I spoke about at about 4 o'clock this morning. Check it out. So Squaw Sachem and PASSACONAWAY. So Sachem, we know, is the mother of Winnepecan, but who is PASSACONAWAY? The Sachem PASSACONAWAY's name, Papissaconaway, meant child of the bear, referring to his kin group, making him a natural-born protector of his people, a role he reluctantly but for a time successfully undertook during the colonial period. PASSACONAWAY is reported to have been nearly 7 feet tall, a charismatic magician and healer who answered a call to political leadership. Before he became a grand sachem, PASSACONAWAY was a noted powwow, witch or sorcerer. Powwow must be the word in their language, which I don't see here, but I think it's Natic, as well as powwow, spelled with a W-A-W, shaman in parentheses. So a shaman, I think, is like a medicine man. Okay, a powerful combination. In his account of 16, so he was not only a medicine man, he was also known. Denise, who is that? Who is it? Let me just go. Let me just go out. Oh, you. Okay. Sorry, I'm at home, guys and gals. All right. So let's see, where was I? Okay, so he was not only a witch or sorcerer, but he was also a medicine man, according to this story. A powerful combination. In his account of 1637, Thomas Morton describes entertainments in which PASSACONAWAY conjured physical feats such as juggling, appearing to swim underwater an impossible distance, and making ice in summer, complete with obscuring smoke and loud claps, like thunder, I'm imagining. Common distractors in a magician's repertoire. Now they're going they're going to go back and forth between these names. They have so many sometimes. Papiscino, which is different than what we saw up here. Papiscanowa. Papiscino is how I would pronounce this. Papiscini. Oh, Papiscinio. That sachem of Sagamore is a power of great estimation amongst all kind of savages there. He is at their revels, which is the time when a great company of savages meet from several parts of the country in amity with their neighbors, has advanced his honor in his feats or juggling tricks to the admiration of the spectators, whom he endeavored to persuade that he would go underwater to the further side of a river too broad for any man to undertake with a breath, which thing he performed by swimming over and deluding the company with casting a mist before their eyes that see him enter and come out, but no part of the way he has been seen. Likewise, by our English, in the heat of all summer, to make ice appear in a bowl of fair water. First, having the water set before him, he began his incantation according to their usual custom, and before the same has been ended, a thick cloud has darkened the air, and on a sudden a thunderclap has been heard that has amazed the natives. In an instant, he has shown a firm piece of ice to float in the midst of the bowl in the presence of the vulgar people, which doubtless was done by the agility of Satan and his consort. And that has a footnote. Close your eyes if you don't like scrolling. I don't see the footnotes. All right. So I have to check out those footnotes. Close your eyes. I was hoping to see where that came from. All right. In his account of 1639, William Wood also reports on Pasquini. I'm going to call it Pass. I have to be able to read. Reports on Pass's reputation for magic or miracles. The Indians report of one Pascano that he can make the water burn, the rocks move, the trees dance, metamorphose himself into a flaming man. He will do more, for in winter, when there are no green leaves to be got, he will burn an old one to ashes, and putting those into the water, produce a new green leaf, which you shall not only see, but substantially handle and carry away, and make of a dead snake's skin a living snake, both to be seen, felt, and heard. And that's another footnote. And these are some representations of Passaconaway, the shaman or grand sachem. So here's another name that we'll see, and you have to keep up with the names because all of a sudden they'll be talking about the Bashara or Bashara, and that's who they're talking about. And this statue is probably in Massachusetts. It's supposed to be a representation of Passaconaway. The seat of Passaconaway's confederacy was Pennacook, New Hampshire, today a part of Concord, New Hampshire. But for a time in the mid 1600s, he resided at Wamsit and Pawtucket Falls, Lowell, in winter, and at Agawam, Ipswich, and West and Wennesquawam, Cape Ann, in summer. He very likely visited Gloucester Harbor, Riverview, and Annisquam. If so, the English colonists newly arrived in 1638 to 1640 to settle Gloucester did not remark upon seeing a giant chieftain striding through the salt marshes or groves of white pine. In fact, unlike the colonists in surrounding townships, the people of Gloucester Plantation seem not to have remarked upon Native Americans at all, a mystery I explore in a later chapter, footnote 44. And I'm basically trying to see when we get the Squawshaw, and is he actually going to be Nanapashamet, the father of Winnepoken. Okay, reading on. James and Winnuchus were visiting Masconomet that day in 1631 when the Tarantan raided and kidnapped the bride of Pennacook. She was ransomed by Abraham Sherd of Pemaquid, an English trader who served as intermediary for 10 beaver pelts and some wampum. Winnetou was returning unharmed to her father, PASSACONAWAY, but the marriage so okay, let me stop here. I'm sorry, I need to go back. Okay, so this is going to be another footnote. This is another passage from a book or some source. James and Winnetou were visiting Masconomet that day in 1631 when the Tarantines raided and kidnapped the bride of Pennacook. The bride of Pennacook. I thought, okay, here's Pennacook. The seat of Passaconaway's confederacy was Pennacook. Okay. James and Winnetou were visiting Massaconaway that day. The bride of Pennacook. So she was to be the bride. She was the fiance of Passaconaway. She was ransomed by Abraham Sherd, an English trader, who gave 10 beaver pelts and some wampum for her return. Winnetou was returned unharmed to her father, Passaconaway. Now here, bride of Pennacook, being that he, Passaconaway, here, the seat of Passaconaway's confederacy is Pennacook, makes me think that she's going to be his bride, being that he's the seat of the confederacy there. But undoubtedly, his daughter was going to marry there. We'll see. Maybe I shouldn't be trying to figure it all out before I read it. Okay. Winnetou, this woman who had been kidnapped, was returned unharmed to her father. So clearly, Passaconaway is her father. But the marriage, so famously romanticized in Whittier's poem, may have come to an end when Sagamore James, okay, so James was going to be her husband. Sagamore James at that. Okay, so they were visiting there together, unmarried. May have come to an end. So it says again, the marriage so famously romanticized may have come to an end when Sagamore James declined to travel to the White Mountains to retrieve her. So James did not, the fiance, he didn't go to try to get her. Allegedly in the belief that doing so, rather than her being brought to him, would publicly acknowledge Passaconaway's superior power. Okay, so this was he was expecting her father maybe to ransom her and bring her to him. If not, it would have been giving Pasconaway the idea that he had superior power over him, being him, James Sagamore, or Sagamore James. The exact chronological, the exact chronology, the exact chronology of these events, whether the chiefly competition occurred before or after the Tarentine attack and kidnapping, is not clear. So this is like a father son-in-law issue. However, the question soon became moot. 2 years later, both James and his brother John were dead, victims of smallpox. And that's going to end that. Now they're going to talk about the father. Maybe we'll get clarity here. The father, this is the father as I know it of Winnepecan. Nanap, I've been saying Nanapashamet. Nanapashamet's widow and her 3 young Christianized sons had attempted to take up leadership of the Pawtucket. Sagamore John, whose name must have once been Wanohaquaham, born 1600, dying 1633, governed at Medford on the Mystic River in the South. Oh, good. So my system is working. I can see where somebody come in. I'm going to come back to this. I want to go and greet OCO Redbird. Thank you for stopping by. I'm going to actually put, just in case, I'm not trying to bribe you, but just in case you want to come up, I'm going to put up, or anyone wants to come up, I am going to put the link in the chat. Just in case. So I'm watching from another I'm watching from another I hate when I'm at a loss for words. Device. I'm watching from another device so I can see if someone else comes in, because when you share your full screen, I can't see anything. So I can see from another device, I can see the live chat. Okay, so I'm going to go back. This is another excerpt from another source. And so I'm going to go back, and I should be reading about Nanapashamet, which is the father of Winnepecan. And I'm just go back to where I was, but I'm going to briefly go through this. Nanapashamet's widow and her 3 sons attempt to take up leadership of Pawtucket. Sagamore John governed at Medford on the Mystic River in the South with Sagamore James. Now, Sagamore James, we know from the previous insert, was set to marry Passaconaway's daughter, who had been kidnapped and ransomed by a European or immigrant and brought back to her father, Passaconaway. And so we know there is some rivalry between Sagamore James and his soon-to-be father-in-law at that time, which was Passaconaway, who is linked with Scar Sachem here. And I'm trying to figure out the relationship, which I have not gotten to yet, the relationship because we know Squaw Satcham is Winnepeken's mother. Here, Nanapashamet is his father. So Nanapashamet's widow, unless it is another wife, should be Squaw Satcham. Okay. So now we're talking about Squaw Satcham, Nanapashamet's widow, Squaw Satcham, and her 3 young sons attempt to take leadership of Pawtucket. Sagamore John, who governed at Medford on the Mystic River in the south, and Sagamore James at Sagas River in the north, and Sagamore George, who is Winnepecan. So what are they saying here? Squaw Satcham and her 3 sons attempt to take leadership of Pawtucket. Oh, okay. Okay, I got it. Her 3 sons are Sagamore John, Sagamore James, and Sagamore George. So from that, we know that one of her sons, Sagamore James, was going to marry PASSACONAWAY's daughter, Winnetchus. So one of Squaw Satcham's sons, the one whose name is Sagamore James, was due to marry PASSACONAWAY right here. And this story is about Squaw Satcham and PASSACONAWAY. Squaw Satcham being, that's like the mother of the groom, and PASSACONAWAY being the father of the bride. I feel like I'm doing something. I feel like I figured something out. Okay. So here we have now Winnepecan coming into the story. Okay. So this is her and her 3 sons attempting to take leadership of Pawtucket. First son, Sagamore John. Second son, Sagamore James. Third son and youngest son, Sagamore George, Winnepecan, who was around the age of 4. And when it says with a regent, I think that's like an uncle or a person who is standing in place for him. At Salem, or Salem being considered, and I believe this is Salem, like the Salem witch, the whole Salem witch era. Naumkeag. Winnepecan was later known to the colonists as George Rumney Marsh. So, you know, Winnepecan has at least 4 names, one being Winnepecan, one being Sagamore George, one being George No Nose, and then George Rumney Marsh, at least. Okay, and here still later is George No Nose. Okay, when John and James died in 1633, smallpox epidemic, English colonists whose numbers also are reduced by smallpox, the English colonists nursed and raised the surviving Indian children, mainly as servants, according to journal entries of Governor John Winthrop. Let's see how much more I'm going to read of this. Okay, I'm going to read at least to the picture. The epidemic, wrought much with them. that when their own people forsook them because they themselves were too ill to care for ill relatives, yet the English came daily and ministered to them. What you think about that, name?
What's that?
Okay, listen. So this infamous Squaw Satcham is her name, one of her names. She had three sons. One is the interest of this period of search for me. Winnepican, her youngest son, her other two sons died of smallpox. The youngest one was affected by smallpox, which is why they called him No Nose, because it disfigured his nose, or maybe part of his nose had to go missing because of the issue. However, it says here English colonists nursed and raised surviving Indian children mainly as servants, according to journal entries. In the epidemic wrought much with them when their own people forsook them because they themselves were too ill to care for relatives. Yet the English came daily and ministered to them.
For help?
Huh?
To slavery?
Right.
I mean,
They try to make it seem.
they were so nice.
They try to make it seem like they really.
Nobody else wanted. I mean, where did the smallpox come from?
Okay, right. Okay, some of the English in the towns around the bay
They didn't get it, but
took the Indian children into their homes. Some of the English in the towns around the bay took the Indian children into their homes, hoping to rescue them from smallpox.
but they weren't afraid they would get it. Why?
You know what?
I mean, I'm just saying, why wouldn't they get it?
That's worth it because it does say that many of their numbers were also reduced by smallpox. So maybe they care for them like from a distance, like throw them some bag of food or something. Who knows? So anyway, most died. Sagamore John's son was one of the few to survive. So one of his brother's children survived. He was taken care of by Mr. John Wilston, pastor of Boston. February 1634. Such of the Indian children as were left were taken by the English, most whereof did die of the pox soon after, three only remaining. Okay, so this is one of the counts. Okay, that's a footnote. Squaw Satcham's youngest son, George, survived. Okay, let me go over and say OCO. Thank you, Redbird. And then OCO Tie Hog, thank you for coming through. Reading an interesting story. Keep getting sidetracked, but I'm looking at I'm tuned in on another device so that I can see if someone comes in to the chat. I want to just put a greeting to you. I'm going to try to finish reading this. I didn't want to spend a lot of time, but I'm down to here. So I'm down to Squaw Satcham's youngest son, George, who is Winnepican, survived, his face disfigured by the disease, but later was captured in King Philip's War in 1675 and sold as a slave to Barbados. He survived to return miraculously in 1684, only to die later the same year at his sister Abigail Yawada's home in Natick. For this is another true thing about history. Its events can be thrilling, uplifting, or horrifying, and its people heroes, villains, or fools, but as a body of personal narratives, it is nothing if not sad. True. So I wanna take a I wanna see if I can find his sister. I just close your eyes if you don't can't deal with scrolling. I really just need to see something. I need to see if I need to break this up. But before I break it up, of course I am going to sidetrack and go and try to find his sister. Yeah, this is a lot more, and I do want to read this whole thing. This is pretty cool. So I want to go back and see if I can find. Okay, I'm almost finished scrolling. You can look back at the screen. I want to see if I can find anything on Abigail Yawata of Natick. Abigail Yawata Natick. Abigail Yawata of Natick. Let's see if we see. Oh, maybe this is her. Oh, maybe that. I'm going. I'm going to look. Why would it offer me that? Why would it offer that if that was not her children? Got her last name. It appears someone has done some search here. These are recent. I wonder if this would be his sister. No, that's a son born in Japan. This probably is not. Yeah, that's not them. Okay, so let me just look a little bit, see if I can find. This is a newsletter. I remember they also call her brother by Romney. This is 2009. I'm gonna open up some of this. This is just a general search looking for Abigail Yawaka. So I should be able to find some ancestry, and who knows, could possibly be able to find living descendants. This is the story I'm reading. All right, so I'm probably not going to read any more of the story right now. I am going to ancestry. to look for a possible tree. Okay, so here, okay, we have, as it should be, Nana Peshmet and Squaw Satcham and their children, which I haven't heard of Wano Hakwa unless that is, but let's just say, so one born in 1600, two, 1609, and you go by these lines. Yawata, that's three children. We know there was supposed to be three sons and Winnepekin. Okay. All right. So Winnepekin, there we have Winnepekin and his sister Abigail, who was eventually named Abigail. And this must be John and James. Oh, yeah, Winnetchus. He did marry Winnetchus, huh? All right. That's a further story to look into. But what I am doing now is I am trying to see some live descendants. So this is going to be Abigail's children. There is no lines leading down. Maybe Winuchus may have had children. If I open this, which should lead to her parents, but sometimes it'll add a drop down. Okay, so it has her father. So they don't show any children from that connection. But from Abigail Yawada, the sister, we do have children. So we know that the last name Wiser, so whoever she married, John, if I open that up, it's going to show that his last name, or maybe was given to him by the Europeans, the immigrants, Wiser. And these are one, two, three, four, five, six, seven sons that they have. And these two arrows should drop down to the next generation. Okay. Going back up to the couple. How many generations do we see coming down? One, two, three. Okay, so you see three already. This is Abigail, John Weiser, son James, and the only uh this person who has this tree, the only persons they're concerned with and must have lineage with maybe is going to be James Weiser and Mary Parham. So that's three generations. Three generations down gets you into mid mid 70s. I'm sorry, mid 1700s. Are we gonna get all the way down? We'll see. Okay. So here we go. Here we go. From remember James. Okay, here we back up here again. Abigail and her husband, one generation down, the only generation that they're looking at lineage, James and Mary. And then how many generations down? One, two, three, another two more generations added. Brings us down into the 1800s. Still seeing the name Weiser, still coming through sons. Seeing the lineage coming through sons helps to keep the last name intact, and it makes it easier. So now we're at Benjamin Weiser and Sarah, although they had one, two, three, four. I'm just looking at sons right now. Five sons, and it looks like one, two, three, four, five daughters. So sticking with the sons just because that is easier. Although we have lineage coming down further, we into the mid 1800s. We should be getting to the 1900s. Coming with Benjamin Wise's family. No pictures so far, so we can't see if these people stayed melanated at this point. So we are down into the early 1900s. Okay, so now I'm going to quickly go. It's the Graves family tree. I'm going to go into the media gallery and just see if there are any pictures of people. This is just the way I do it. Okay, so we don't see melanated people at this point. A lot of pictures, 186 pictures. Let's go. And I mean, not 100 and 186 pages. So that's like, so it says 4,000 and so pictures. So as we can see, we are not seeing melanated people. This person might be a little bit of melanation. We should. I'm looking for references that should lead to the Wiser family. So one of the other things I can do is to go into tree search and type in Wiser, and it won't give me every Wiser most of the time, but I can see. Hmm. Okay, so What I'm going to do, I'm going to abandon that for right now. But we that was enough. I saw enough right there to see what exactly happened to that family. So let's see if we. I think we did. We find a picture. We have a picture for. Let's see if we have a picture for her. I just open this. Sometimes this will lead to more. No, nothing. Nothing is leading to a picture of her in particular. Dramatic Indian. Dramatic Indian. Oh, these are supposed to be representation of the Natic. Interesting. Clearly, when you look up images of Natic Indians, you're seeing people of color. Clearly. Okay. My point is that I'm going to go back and read more of that story. But my point is that every story that I have, and it has not been many, but they always lead back and not that hard to find. They always lead back to people that today you will call colored. Well, no, not today. Today we're being called African American and black. So maybe we'll do a little. It should be something out there about Christopher Addicts. Probably something out there. Because I think what the question would be, what is the Natick Indian looking like in the 1600s? That all right. So 1684 Natick, 1684 Natick. Oh, when Nepocan comes up, of course. All right. about the 1700s. Are they already non-melanated by the 1700? That's supposed to be. See. All right, I might have to force myself to a stop. Well, this is the representation of Indians in 1850 to 1851, just 1 year? Really? This the California War on Indians? This is someone's picturing Lakota. Let's see what that looks like. South Dakota. Dakota children. So much to see. So, the old Wikipedia. Believe it or not, some truths. There's Connecticut, Nebraska. First settled in 1651. So, yeah. So, those Indians were, not to my surprise, and should be not be to anyone's surprise, those people were people of color that would today be known as so. Says here that in the middle of the 17th century, the Reverend John Eliot and a group of praying Indians from Dedham, Massachusetts, won a lengthy court battle and were awarded the title to the 2,000 acres of land in the town known as Natick. I'm going to end with that. Got to stop somewhere. Peace and love, y'all.